Moving on, public comment. Remember, keep your comments addressed to the board. Do not comment amongst yourselves. Be respectful. 3 minutes only. Who's first? Gail McClain.
Well, I think that every township has been involved in some way since 1972. And I never ever heard such garbage before. There's no going in there, when someone's talking about their township officials, they're called, or they want to do their stuff. But this is not a township, as one gentleman said. That's good. At least they're not milking the taxpayers for 5 days a week. No reason. Limit the hours, save money. No township office needs to be open 5 days a week like your dad, who milks the taxpayers for 5 days a week for 2 people in your dad's township office, and then raises my taxes $100. I hope everybody in our township knows Susie and Pat are on salary. They are trying to get the job done that they were dealt with. Pat has been Adams Township treasurer for 42 years, and no one has ever accused her of milking the taxpayers before. And why all of a sudden now? I wonder if it has anything to do with the push and the cowboy talk on the coffee, over coffee. Something to do with this. And again, it doesn't matter if you spend 1 hour Sunday morning, or you can spend 5 or 7 hours a day for 5 days a week, Susie. You guys aren't going to get any credit for anything. And you're obviously not getting any extra money. But I think everybody in here should know you guys are salary.
All right, who's next? Okay.
I just want to take a couple of minutes to advise the board of the township of the 3 FOIA requests I recently submitted to Adams Township. The request was to obtain bank statements and property tax settlement statements from 2010 to 2022. I haven't time in these 3 minutes to discuss all the details, so Mark and I will continue the video series to explain it, and it can be found on YouTube. But to summarize, the response that I received to my FOIA included 2 arbitrary hourly charges. $20 an hour for a report that should be pulled from Patricia's computer and the SMA software that she runs on it, and a $30 an hour for bank statements. The response also included almost $800 for copying and printing charges cited in the DDR request for the electronic. So then I FOIA for the policy and guidelines in reference to the FOIA law reference, or that pertains to it, because it should be based on the hourly rates. Presumably, the township did not have FOIA policies and guidelines. At least I couldn't find one, and no one on the township board was aware of the guidelines and procedures back in 2022 when we were going through the debacle with Reuters. With this, I also requested any meeting minutes that passed policies and guidelines. I received the 2023 resolution of this board passed, and stapled to the back side of it was a single-page resolution with a sheet of paper with 5 line items, including the arbitrary $20 an hour. I also received the August 2023 meeting minutes referencing the resolution. Neither the resolution nor the meeting minutes contain any reference to anything other than assigning the FOIA administrator position to the township clerk. And then I also received a 3rd document, which was entitled Adams Township FOIA Policy and Guidelines, and was signed and dated in 2015. But here's where it gets interesting. First, the hourly fees in 2015 are $10 an hour. Seeing as the board does not pass anything pertaining to this, $20 and $30 an hour charges are arbitrary and unlawful. Second, the procedures and guidelines that were put in place in 2015 for the designated clerk as the FOIA administrator and the township treasurer as her backup. Given that Patricia's been on this board for 40 years, she voted on this, and she should have been my backup when Reuters was coming in and FOIA-ing me when I had attorney-client privilege on it. Yet is this just yet another breach of your township duties? You, and as well as your friends Bonnie and Janice, owe Mark and I an apology for that. That is, every person should have stepped up. No wonder you had no scruples on this issue, and you let us flounder. You knew. You had to have known, or you should have looked, or had someplace. But either way, what was going on here was absolutely ridiculous and stressed in the extra accusations that were put onto it. So with that said, the township may want to revise their original FOIA request to me. I have consulted counsel, and what I'll do is keep my time so that Bonnie and Janice can remind you the importance of following FOIA law and not getting the township involved in legal cases. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Janice?
I am so mad. What you guys have been through is absolutely terrible. First of all, she took over in May. She came in and had to sign some checks that were written and laid on the desk and never signed to pay people. So Susie signed the checks and paid them. Then the police were called on her. That's ridiculous. I can write checks, date them, and my kids can come in and sign them 2 weeks later, and that's not illegal. And as far as the FOIA, Mark, I asked you 3 months straight why you guys didn't answer the FOIA that you were served, and now you're having a fit, and it just turned it around. You people aren't working with anybody. It's ridiculous that you didn't answer the FOIA, and now you're having a fit because you have to pay to get information. It's asking, you guys are doing a good job, and why Bonnie and I are mentioned in the FOIA business, I don't know, but keep up the good work.
Anybody else? Yes, Bonnie.
I hope when she wrote that you spelled my name right. Because it was an I-E and not a Y. Because I've seen some of your previous spelling. I'm talking to them.
I just want to know, didn't the former clerk have all the access to all that information that she is now having FOIA? Wasn't that all in her hands when she was the township clerk? I just don't know why she's asking for it now when she had complete access to it before.
Amen.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
I guess, I do have a couple comments.
Mr. Meeks.
First, I'm wondering on the FOIA, what is the distinction between what things need to be FOIA versus if I want to come in and, let's say, look at the zoning book? That doesn't require a FOIA, does it? What I'm asking is there some specific document that tells you what needs to be FOIA and what a person can just say, I want to see something? You see what I'm getting at? This is a question. I don't know. There's stuff in here about what can be requested by FOIA, but I'm just wondering where's the line drawn? And who knows that? Do you know that? I don't know. The other thing is, as far as the cost, what I noticed as a footnote in the 2015 policy, it says that the fees must be limited to the actual costs of duplication, mailing, and labor. So I assume that whatever was provided to Stephanie is an estimate, and in the end, you would have to have a timesheet that says how many hours you actually spent putting this together. Is that true? Is that do you guys know that, or?
Mr. Meeks, we are not addressing the questions that are asked.
Okay, well, I'm asking these, and I'm making the point that the footnote says you don't just charge what you think it's going to cost in time. It has to be actual time. It's in the footnote in the 2015 policy. I also noticed that there's a charge for the bank charges, 156 statements at $5 a statement, which means that would be 50 pages per statement per month. Is that how many pages there are in a bank statement? That seems to be inflated to me. I don't know, but it sure seemed odd. So, there you go.
Great. Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll move on. Old business. The North Adams School Tennis Court was brought up to me at a school board meeting that they wanted to get those repaired. They want to start using them. They know 5 entities are involved, and they say that Adams Township holds the lion's share of the percentage of, the 5 entities. So they want us. We hold it 51%. And they want that repaired. They would like us to help repair it. They don't want us to give it to them. They don't want to gift the tennis courts because they're in disrepair where they would have to pay to get it fixed themselves. They want the 5 entities to get together and decide on getting them repaired or taken out. Now, we're going to have to decide on getting together with these guys. So I'm asking Jason, who is our representative to the Recreation Committee, and myself to join him and get with the school, the village, Wheatland, and Moscow Township. And once we want to get away from this, we need it in writing that they don't no longer want to do it. And the ones that are still wanting to be involved, we need to have a plan in place as to either repair it or destroy it. So either way that we look at it, we have to get this taken care of. It's been going on for long enough. It's getting worse. It's an eyesore. We agreed getting into it, and we should stick to our word. If we're going to repair it, then we should repair it. If we're not going to, we need to know that too.
Did the school invest any maintenance for that?
The school was supposed to maintain it as long as they were able to use it. Now, 5 entities, that was the whole thing. The school still holds insurance on it. So if anybody's going to get sued, it'd be the school. At least the insurance part. So this is being brought up because it was brought up to me at the meeting. And so when I return to them or talk to them about it, I'd like to have the board to say that we go ahead and try and get some type of a plan in place.
Any estimates?
Not yet. I plan on getting estimates on repair from 3 different companies.
Tony Jones has some numbers.
We had some at one time, Belson Asphalt gave us a good bid onto it and an idea on how to replace it. And there's 2 other companies that have approached the school and the school board on repairing the
But they still want to.
Yeah. Yes. At one time it was very useful and really nice to have it out there for the kids to be on, but anymore it's just a safety hazard. So we either need to step up and either make a decision for this to get taken care of, or we need to have the attorney drop some type of a paper saying we don't want to be involved anymore. Everyone's holding everything out.
But we'll have a lot more information once you guys
Yes.
look at it.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So this doesn't require a decision tonight. It's just an information. And we'll know more about that later. Moving on. The treasurer's report. Motion made as presented. Motion made and seconded. To accept the treasurer's report as presented. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passed. Bills. Okay, any questions, changes on the bill?
I motion as presented.
Motion made to accept the bills, pay the bills. Motion made, supported. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we're going to move on to, get that in there. Okay. Okay. We're gonna, at this point, I'm noticing that we have the minutes from the previous meeting, and it is not on the agenda. So we are going to amend the agenda at this point to accept them. Meeting the minutes of the previous meeting of 9/11/2023. And I was going to read those.
Yeah. I motion to amend and approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Clerk notes.
Clerk's notes. We're going to start out this evening with the generalization of something that I think everyone can easily and readily acknowledge. Having worked on this budget, there's some things that need to be said. First and foremost, I think anyone who gets a bank statement, normally to balance that, the first thing they pull out is a checkbook register. I think we're all familiar with this, whether you get it online or it's a physical register that you list your deposits and your checks in. I want to make this point because working on this, I want to make something very clear how things operate in this township. We have 3 checking accounts that are called funds. We have the cemetery fund, we have the general fund, and we have the tax fund. Each one of those funds that software is located on one computer. That computer is operated by the clerk. Period. One computer, one operator. We have one computer that the treasurer uses to process taxes. However, that is not an accounting system. The accounting system resides with the clerk. So looking at all of these accounts, it has become very clear since I've been working on the audit that when I ran the first general account, The amount of the balance and the deficit balance was astounding to me. We knew that I could not put the year-end entries, again, from the 21-22 audit into the system. I made a special appointment with the computer company, with Township, to bring the computer down, to change the date, to make those entries, and to close the year. So all those transactions, their adjustments, 4 pages of them, would close the year and would move on to the next year for starting balances. So when I did this, I thought surely this would be, when I had got stuck, and I will stay stuck, with an audit from 22 to 23 that the clerk arbitrarily decided she wasn't going to do. And now I am in charge of this. So in reality, in my world, I'm living in the past, I'm living in the present with the daily work, and I'm working towards the future. What I have found is astounding. And I'm going to try to explain this as easily as possible. And folks, please go back to your own accounts, your own check register when you get your bank account. I think the problem here is that the clerk did not understand that with 3 accounts, every entry that she makes, whether it is a deposit or it is a check, she is creating a check register. She is absolutely creating a check register. No different than your bank. Sends you to show you what you've done, and you compare it to what you have in your register. To go further with this, again, the only enters, 1 computer, 1 operator. 3 accounts where items, let's take the cemetery. As the first account on the cemetery, an item that would be given to you to put in would be someone purchasing a plot. That would be a deposit. When a foundation is built, that would be your check. No different than your checking accounts, your deposits, your checks. Okay? The general fund. Randy issues a permit. He gives that permit, the money goes to the treasurer. They all have a receipt, they all have a deposit slip attached. That's your deposit. When the clerk pays the phone bill, the light bill, there's the check, that's your credit. Deposits, checks. Well, in doing this audit, I'm astonished to tell you, and I don't mean this to be harsh, but it's the only way to explain it. The clerk didn't know what she didn't know. If you are creating a check register in a computer system that is designed to do the accounting, there must be a reconciliation sheet. There is a reconciliation sheet for every single account. It is called the general activity account. So again, 1 computer, 1 operator, putting in, making the check register for the general ledger activity. So when I got this and then saw that on the year-end entries from the audit, I called the auditor and I said, I find it confusing after what I'm seeing, just running 1 of each. Register, check register for the cemetery, for the general fund, and for the tax fund. This is what she said. First and foremost, this doesn't come off the clerk's computer. If the clerk is the only one with the capability and her job to put put in each deposit and each check. In the business world, this is called a daily. That's all it is. It is not a check register. It is a daily. There is no way that you can possibly, in a million years, balance your checking account without your check registered. Here comes the problem with the audit. This is what was given for the balances in the accounts per the auditor. None of the accounts were balanced with the check register. None of them. The discrepancies in them are astounding. When you run them, you also see any errors or omissions that you would have by having not entered it in the check register. So going through this, it is absolutely astounding that someone, had she run this, if the clerk whose responsibility it is had run this, she would have seen that's why this whole audit is blown up. I also believe this is the reason that she foregoed and unilaterally made the decision not to do the new audit. Every single entry has to be posted. You have to balance from a register. If you think you can balance from this, the next time that your bank statement comes, go and knock on your neighbor's door and ask for their check register. Because that's just about how well the balancing of the bank account is going to go. Entries that were put in on the general account are nonsensical. They are literally imaginary checks and imaginary deposits. The cemetery account for over a year was up $786.36. This would have come in handy. If you miss a deposit, you have the numbers. They're all numbered. You would go to the treasurer and simply ask, my bank statement shows a deposit for $15 on such and such a date. Being small as they are, I can see where they become attached to a different paper. But you still have to balance the account. Otherwise, the errors and omissions, the township truly cannot make a determination of what their funds are. On the tax account, this is a collection of taxes. It has the deposit slip. So as far as any oversight that the clerk may think she has on the treasurer, that's ridiculous. The bank's the oversight. They're not going to give you more money than what you give them in your deposit. The same thing with a check. You have a check. This one happens to be from the county to the county treasurer for the percentage of collected taxes. It has a check number. Not one of the bank reconciliation sheets on the tax fund is there one check number. This is outrageous that all this time I have listened for over a year of the former township supervisor and the former clerk berate, blame, and use ageist remarks against the treasurer who's been here 40 years because the clerk didn't know what she didn't know, and she never asked. One call to the computer company, if she would have known, if she would have admitted she didn't know what she didn't know, she could have called them and said, I can't find a bank reconciliation sheet. Can you help me out? There's all sorts of reports in there. I found it on my own. I also found the void check register, which has a lot of amazing things on it. At this point, there are over $716,000 in checks on the tax account. that have never been registered into the clerk's accounting system. There are over 131,000 in deposits that were never registered in the clerk's accounting system. Again, one computer with the program, one operator. This is across all of them. To go back, if I sound a little resentful, I am. I came in here to do the clerk's job. I didn't come up in here to spend hours and hours and hours cleaning up a mess that was deliberately left. When you choose not to do the audit, that's deliberate. But to have two people belittle Pat, blame her for something she has no control over, she doesn't even have access to that computer. I am very curious how Stephanie got access to this. So I would think that both the priors who were in Township on this board should, if nothing else, apologize to Pat for blaming this on her where in no way, shape, or form it has anything to do with Pat. Okay? That's part of it. The next thing I want to address is we keep hearing that, I heard that Stephanie say that she has background in data mining. Well, she should have mined a little deeper for what would have saved this township a ton of money. The audit that we had done before Stephanie came in cost us $2,400. When I was the controller of a business that had a lot of different things going on, because it's a business, you have a lot more things going on. I never paid for an audit of over $5,500 to do an audit on a company that had millions and millions of dollars. This makes absolutely no sense. None. And I resent the fact that because I'm stuck with it, and she didn't even bother to put the check numbers in on the tax account, I'm supposed to go back and correct all these when this is what she gave, a daily sheet. She never balanced to one, folks. And had she actually run the report, the errors and omissions she would have seen, she would certainly, for common sense alone, know this isn't right. I'm going to have to go back and correct it. 2 years later, I do not have enough time to go back and line on them, especially when they don't have a document number, and most of them simply have a transaction number. Excuse me. So first and foremost, an apology is deserved to Pat. Second thing I want to address. I want to publicly thank my sister again for coming up and helping me with the amount of paper that was stuffed in a drawer. These are not in order. These were vertical while everything else is horizontal. It makes no sense. She volunteered, and I'm sure we all know what that word means. She also bought labels so everything she processed could be absolutely not mistaken for something else, and she bought banker boxes for the actual storage of these documents. So I take umbrage at that fact. Any FOIA, so let's get to the FOIAs now. I've been in office 6 months as of the 4th of October. I have had 4 FOIAs. The FOIAs are perfectly fine. They all went through the township attorney. I do not have a control of an outside source when they give me a cost of what it's going to be to perform and get canceled checks. By the way, when was the last time anybody got a canceled check with their statement? Canceled checks back to 2009 to 2022. It again, this is a waste of time. On the FOIA, as far as the charges that before I was here was $1 a page, which is in direct violation of Michigan law. It's 10 cents a page unless it's legal size. We don't have legal size. The attorney, again, I'm not an expert. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. So there is absolutely no reason that this is all a mess. And I am not going to line item. I have come to know the necessary paperwork for things done out, and they can highlight and they can correct it. This is why this audit cost us $10,150. Which is outrageous. And this one that's been ignored. So again, here we are. Stephanie's ignored unilateral position, which goes to the fraud case. Again, excuse me. Again, it's a situation of the clerk didn't know what she didn't know. No bank cares what date is on a check unless you have a specialized account that above the signature says, void if not presented in 90 days. So I was turned over for fraud because after I was sworn in, I went and we removed Stephanie as what is the right thing to do from our checking account, from access to any of them, and I was put on the signature card. The bank, again, they only care if the person who signs the check is the appropriate signer. And I was. So we wasted a lot of time with that, wasted the sheriff's department's time. Let me go back to why I ran. I ran for office because Stephanie had released our personal information to someone who was totally unqualified for it. The second thing is, it really bugged me that we were paying someone to do a job. I mean, I supported myself most of my life. Was to do a job that we ended up continuing to pay her and having to pay someone else to do the job. What's changed? She didn't do the audit, she didn't do, and she still found no reason not to collect her paycheck and ignore her duties. So we need to make progress. This board is trying to make progress. But these FOIAs that are nonsensical, I mean really, you didn't even answer the one. And from everything I've seen, you say the clerk, on the 15th, well, I didn't see any resolution where Nichols was appointed to be the FOIA coordinator. And he did your FOIA. So anyway, that's my clerks, and I would sincerely hope that the two people who have maligned the reputation, asserted falsehood, would step up to the plate and do the decent thing and apologize to Pat for the harassment over the last year. That's it.
Okay, gonna move on. Supervisor and zoning comments. We did 2 splits, 15 permits. Considerable amount of building going on in the township. So far, we've done pretty good. I'm sorry? Yeah, 15 permits and 2 splits. One on Culver Road, one on Peterson Road. Zoning part of it, is easy. But I've asked, and now I'm going to make a couple of comments. I've asked, made calls to the chairperson of the planning commission, and I've gotten no response from the chairperson on the planning commission. I think that if I call the person, they should at least answer the phone. That bothers me to the point where I believe the terms for the planning commission are up at this point. I think that we'll start by looking for new people to replace the existing planning commission. The ones that are on there that are responsible enough to handle the job, we will leave in place. The ones that are not, we'll remove. Also, I would like to bring up a topic that really should never even have to be spoken. People who come to this township board meeting, you're all welcome to come here. This is public meeting. You should be able to come here and be able to listen to what's said, voice your opinion, and when you leave that door, you should be able to go home in peace, not be accosted outside of this building. You should not have to worry about someone coming up because you've made a comment about something in this building. You should be able to leave here and go home feeling good. Any more people going up and accosting the people at this meeting, I will check on legal actions to be taken towards those people who will accost the ones that are outside of this building. I hope that's as clear as I can make it. We're all here for the same thing. And if you guys can't do that, by all means, check yourself at the door. Because we aren't going to have that at all. All right, moving on. We'll go into the last public comment. Anybody like to start? Janice.
I just want to say, I don't know how many people know what Sue's job was before she retired. But she managed an office with a lot of employees, and she was responsible, if I'm not mistaken, for every car on that car lot, whether it was new, used, or whatever. Exactly. And why anybody would FOIA us for records back to 2009 is absolutely crazy.
Who's next? Sir? Mark?
Mr. Supervisor, I've not seen where any zoning administrator has been appointed.
Well, I believe it was when we took office.
I'd be interested in seeing the minutes where that was done. And
You're welcome to come in and take a look through the minutes.
and is there a salary being paid to the zoning administrator?
I don't believe so. It was what you got.
Okay. But you don't know that you've been appointed zoning administrator.
I'm pretty sure I was.
That's all.
I just want you to know that I do the job. All right. Anybody else?
So I just have to comment, yes, the books were a freaking mess. Yes, I said that for 2 years. Part of the reason why I needed a new auditor. Yes, I don't disagree with you.
I spoke and said, that check did not go clear out of that system. Look at the check register.
That's your job.
12 years when I came in. That was one of my points. And as far as that sheet that the auditor received, she asked for that because I told her my numbers were not balanced. Pat gave her that. I didn't steal it from somebody's office like you implied. I begged Patricia to talk to the auditor, and not once did she return that call. I told you board members what they were going to charge to get ourselves into balance on that whole thing. And nobody cared, and we said. So the fact that you say I did not do an audit, BS. Because you didn't get that last audit back until like May 5th or something. They're not going to start the next audit until they finish the first one, which took an obscene amount of time due to the books in this township. So yeah, we're on the same page on that, Mr. Z. Not totally crazy on the whole thing, but I begged the board for help, and I asked Patricia for help, and she would not. So don't make accusations to come back up.
I can back it up.
I can't help the program, I don't know what.
Nothing to do with the program. You wouldn't even share year-end settlements with
All right.
me. Statements.
We're not gonna argue about it.
Yes.
You made your statement, board is not to respond. I apologize for my response. Gail.
Randy, when we used to be, I think all our zoning, everything carried on from Friday till whatever. I don't think we had new people each time. I think they just carried on. And they had 20 years. So we didn't have to do it each time.
Okay. You talking about the...
The zoning, no, the zoning marked as 7, we just carried on.
Boy, we was getting out of hand. All right. Anybody else? Anybody at all? Anybody?